whole lot of loving is what we'll be bringing. We'll make you happy.
So we left off talking about how we've transitioned from SEL to character education, and now I want to tell you the story of what happened last year, where I've been and what I've learned in the last year. So I'll take you back even further. You may recall that I spent 3 years in a school that was struggling, that was closed. It's threatening to close, and I was hired by a former student to go in and as he said, do my magic, and ended up writing a book about it called The School That Love Built. And I had fully thought that I would be teaching in that school a 4th year. I didn't see any reason why not until one day in late June last year, I got a text that changed my whole life. I got a text from a teacher who said, I've read all of your books, and I've watched all of your videos, and I've made all of your posters. And I'm wondering if you would come in and help me set up my classroom to be to be and to do exactly everything that you say. I am totally sold out on your philosophy. I sat there and I thought to myself, she has no idea what she's asking for me to help her set up her classroom. But how could I ever say no to that? It was summer vacation, and I had time, and I'd never talked to a teacher who was so absolutely over the top with my every word. Bless her heart. So I texted her back. I prayed about it, of course. I prayed about it, and I said, okay, I'll come. And as it turned out, this is the most wonderful woman. I could just do a video on this one woman, how wonderful she is. But as it turned out, she works in a community day school. And for those of you who don't know what a community day school is, it's a school for students who cannot make it in a regular public school, government school classroom. Maybe they act out with violence. They have major issues, emotional, social, behavioral, you name it, and they need to be in a much more confined, secluded, structured atmosphere. And each and every one of them is a complete challenge. And so she was convinced, so I went and we met in her classroom, and she said, my question to her was, so you think that you can implement the skills of independence with these kids, these challenged kids? And she was like, didn't even hesitate. Absolutely. We're going to do the skills of independence. I'm like, I think I laughed, because her expectations were off the charts, the highest expectations I had ever heard from a teacher. That these messed up kids could be masters of the skills of independence. And with that one answer, she completely, I completely said yes to her. I closed the door to this other school, and I hadn't even been hired at her school. I just decided, I'm going to help you. I'm going to pour my heart and soul 100% into helping you create a classroom based on everything I believe in, with the most emotionally and behaviorally charged kids in the universe. We're going to make them masters. We're going to do that. It's like, okay. With the help of God, I made it really clear to her, you know, this is about God gave me all of these tools and these ideas. Everything came down from above. And I will absolutely partner with you as long as you know that God is the one who's making this happen. I'm not just deciding to do it. God is like opening this door. It's a God thing. And she was like totally in on, 100% in on, yeah, I get that. That any miracles that we see will be God-ordained miracles. And so we spent, it was late June, really late. We had a little over a month to really get the environment set up. I spent so many hours in that classroom taking down everything that was on the walls and recreating it and making it a place. Fabulous. You walk in and it's just like, wow, choose happiness everywhere. It's fabulous. I was so proud of it. So much hard work. So proud of it. And I just giggle when I think about how it all started out. But without thinking of a paycheck or what's going to happen here, I got to know the principal, and I said, I'm here to help anything I can do. And what ultimately ended up happening was they hired me. Went for a couple months without pay, but that's okay. That's beside anything here. So I can tell you that from the first day of school until Christmas, it was hell. Yeah. It was more than I ever had seen in my life regarding how wild and crazy it can be in a classroom. There were 14 boys, ages 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. It was 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So it's 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. 14 boys and 1 girl. One girl. And I have never been so challenged in my life to love kids, to not be offended, to be patient. Everything I've ever talked about and written about was on the line. And so the story that I'm going to tell you today is the best, the most wonderful story of my 50 years in the classroom. So get ready to hear the best of hundreds of stories. In this classroom was a boy, and later on, the one girl that started with us left, and another girl came in, and this boy and the second girl who came in were the hardest children to love that I have ever met. I used to pray that they wouldn't go to school today, that they would be sick. Because when they were there, everything, the whole environment was affected. When they weren't there, we could get along somehow. We even had good days. But when they were there, they were just infected everything. And so I had these terrible thoughts of them. I was like, I didn't pray for them to die or something like that. It was just like, I just wanted them gone. There was no love in my heart for those two. And they knew it. It got to the point where I told my partner, I don't want to deal with them anymore. Whatever comes up, it's yours to take care of. That's how bad it got. So by Christmas time, I knew I was totally failing those children. And I was ready to be admonished by God. I was ready. I knew God was calling me to something much higher, but I did not know how to do it. I mean, I've had students in the past that were difficult, and I prayed, Father God, put love in my heart for them, and I've had miracles with those kids, but those kids were nothing compared to these two. So what happened over Christmas vacation last year is my story. I want to show you these 2 books that I read. Winged Life and Kingdom of Love by Hannah Hurnard. Now, in 1970 something, Hannah Hurnard wrote a book called Hind's Feet on High Places. And I had read that book, so many years ago, and I had loved that book. And I can't tell you how I remember that I think I must have ordered these because I loved Hind's Feet so much. But in the year 2000, so now I'm going back 23 years, is when I first read these books. In the year 2000, I had a nervous breakdown. And I went into a hospital, and I got out real quickly, but I took 3 months off teaching, and in those months, I read these 2 books until they fell apart. And they helped me so much in my healing journey. My healing journey was all about my father. It was all about forgiveness. Thank God for forgiveness. But anyway, so at Christmas time, I got these books out again. I said, I'm gonna read those books again. And this time I applied these 2 books to these 2 children. I completely focused all my prayers, all the reading, all my thoughts on those 2 children as concerning these 2 books and what these 2 books say about how to love others. That's what they're about. These books are about, God says, love one another. And He tells us how to do it. And these books put it into words, the how-to of how to love completely annoying, irascible, despicable people, that we can love them. And so I was thinking this morning, just to read you the back of this one says, we begin the changed life when we allow God to begin to transmit to, I don't have my glasses on, to transform us by the renewal of our minds. He does this by going to the very root and heart of our trouble, our thought life. Okay, so that's the key, is the thought life. The key to me not loving those 2 children was my thought life. My thought life was so unloving. Every thought I had about them was ugly. So in these books, it talks about how you change your thought life. How do you change your thought life? That's what the books talk about. And that you may feel like a complete hypocrite. You change your thought life and you start acting lovingly, even if you don't feel it. It has nothing to do with feelings. Oh my gosh, feelings completely get in the way. It has only to do with your desire that God commands us to love one another. It's a commandment. It's not really try hard, it's love one another. And so when Christmas was over, I was ready to go back to school and love those children. Took 2 weeks. And I tell you, it was like they walked in the door and I was happy to see them. I knew right away it was a miracle. I knew immediately. And I want to tell you, and you probably know this yourself, if you don't like someone, if you have negative thoughts about them, they know it. Children are so intuitive. They can feel it if you're faking. They can feel it if you're not sincere. And those 2 kids knew I didn't like them. They knew it. And that made them hate me even more. Of course it did. So the first day back, I'm like, come on in, like with a smile on my face. And they're like, what's up with her? Well, so it took some time. It took a little bit of time. It did. Weeks for me to convince them. And one day the boy said to me, the boy who is so smart, but would not let anyone help him with anything. And all he could ever say is, "You people don't know how to teach me. Nobody knows how to teach me." One day he said to me, "Ma'am, will you help me with my math?" Oh, that was the turning point. I looked to my partner, she looked at me, and it was like, wow. So I got to sit down with him for the first time ever, and he was open, his heart was open to me, for me to help him. So fast forward to, and it just got better all the time. It just got better, and the rest of the kids saw it. I mean, it changed the environment of the whole class. He began to pursue becoming a master of the skills of independence. Both of them did. The last day of school, I walked in and he said to me, "Thank you for coming to school today, ma'am." Thank you for coming to school today, on the last day of school. And we had pillows and blankets, and we were going to watch movies, and I brought spoons so I could teach him how to play a really cool game called Spoons. And after lunch, he came up to me and he said, "Now, ma'am, I want you to sit on this table and stay right here, and we're all going to go outside for a little while, but you stay in here." And I knew he was hatching some kind of a plan. But anyway, so they all came back in, and they all made a circle on the floor, on the rug, a big circle, and they invited me to come and join the circle. And so what happened for the next 45 minutes or so, I will cherish for the rest of my life. I will go down, I will breathe my last breath and probably be thinking about it, because it's the highlight of my teaching career so far, anyway. Those kids sat there, those messed up, totally screwed up, wonderful children told me for 45 minutes how I had changed their lives. Specifically what I had done, what I had said, how much they loved me. I was sobbing. And Micah was bringing me tissue after tissue. I had a complete ball of tissue. He kept handing me tissue. And I went to the board at one point when it was pretty much over. I went to the board and I wrote 50 on the whiteboard. And I said, "Who knows what that number means?" And nobody could get it until finally, I forget who it was, but one of them said, "Oh, it was Evan." He said, "You've been teaching 50 years. That's what it is, isn't it?" And I said, "That's right." I said, "Today is the last day of my 50th year of teaching." And I looked at those kids and I said, in all those 50 years, I've never loved children more than I love you. Yeah, and it was true. And so what happened to me my last year, my 50th year, was the ultimate lesson that God wanted to teach me, which was to love his children, the most unlovely of his children, unconditionally. And there you go. They are sitting there telling me, "We love you." And they loved me because I loved them. I learned to love them. And you can all do that. We can all do that. It's such a journey, and so many of us stop at a certain place, which I had. I had stopped. But God said, "No, there is so much more that you don't know." And these books are, all you have to do is go to Amazon and Google in Kingdom of Love, Winged Life, Hannah Hurnard, and they're still being printed. If you want to love your students unconditionally, despite their behaviors, then I highly recommend going there. So I pray that my story today has inspired you to not stop before you go all the way. Because as long as you stay in the classroom, you are going to have children that are going to be very hard to love. Every year in our country, we have more of them and more of them and more of them. And every teacher can attest to that. So many teachers don't even want to teach anymore because of it. So, thank you for sticking with me. And I'm excited to come back and do more videos in the weeks and months to come to tell you how things are going in my new school. Oh, deep breath. We're going to be okay in America. But we, the teachers of America, have a job to do. We have to teach our children to love themselves first, love others, love our country. Love is the answer. It really is. And it comes in so many different forms. I pray you'll share this video with your friends, with your teacher friends, or just parents. Everybody needs this lesson on how to transform your thinking, how to transform your mind, your thoughts. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.